LEGO Lord of the Rings is back, baby! Kinda. Almost sorta, but this surely isn't all that we're gonna be getting, right? LEGO Lord of the Rings is coming back with some brickheads that are set to release in January 2023. Is this just a poor excuse for LEGO to cash in on a popular IP, or is this the beginning of a well-deserved revival? Hi, it's me. I want to talk about some of the LEGO Lord of the Rings ideas that I have, and things that I think needs to happen with a revival wave. And the best way that I see for this line's success is for LEGO to treat it the same way that they treated another beloved popular theme that was also revived recently in the last couple of years, Harry Potter.
Because with LEGO, when you make it, you feel it. The new LEGO Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets collection, each set sold separately.
Harry Potter officially ended in 2011, and after 7 years in 2018, LEGO revived the line back in full swing. This time around, Harry Potter was released yearly, focusing on a handful of years with each release. It was pretty similar to how they released the sets for the movies all those years ago. Thing is though, Lord of the Rings never received this kind of treatment. We had 2 full waves that were mishmashed of all 3 movies together. They released these really quickly so that they could release the Hobbit sets, which were 1 wave per movie. Hey, feel free to watch my videos about the success and failures on those afterwards if you would be so kind. The Lord of the Rings line ended up missing a ton of stuff, from characters only appearing as 1 set exclusives, to secondary characters being skipped out entirely, especially from Two Towers and Return of the King. Locations were missing, creatures even too. Hell, we never even got the sole antagonist Sauron as a minifigure. Imagine if Star Wars just kept on releasing and never released, I don't know, the Emperor as a figure. So I've sat down and I've decided to plan out a full wave of sets. The rules are very simple. Because I want this to have the same treatment as Harry Potter, I'm keeping the amount of sets to be the same. This also means that they'll try and follow the same prices and piece count. I also want to try and keep the minifigure count towards the same, which adds on to the whole prices and pieces of the same thing. The Harry Potter line allowed for some remakes, so we'll be doing remakes as well. And because this is the first wave, we'll be only looking at the Fellowship of the Ring, as Two Towers and Return of the King deserve their own waves, damn it. And I gotta get this thing out quick because the real deals might leak on Insta. Who knows if this is actually what LEGO's planning on doing anyway. Okay, so, off the top of my head, things that are missing from Fellowship of the Ring. Number 1, the Balrog. Number 2, Amon Hen. And number 3, actual representation of Hobbiton and the Shire. So we ended up getting Hobbiton stuff later with the Hobbit, but the Lord of the Rings is kind of where that all started, so Lord of the Rings should probably have something, right? Especially if we're not going to get a remake of the Hobbit series, and I think people really want... If you had to get like one thing from Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit hole is probably that iconic moment there. Amon Hen is the end area. That's where we could probably get some of those final figures that might be missing or absent from other sets. Aragorn's in a whole different outfit there. Boromir dies here. It's pretty important. So I think it's cool, and I think that that could lend to a cool kind of build. Balrog, very important. We're getting Balrog as a brickhead. It's ridiculous we never got the... You would think LEGO would love to do this. They love doing these little brick-built mech design type things, and it's a giant mech rock monster thing, so throw him in a set. We recently had that with Avatar. They had those brick-built banshees and Turok and stuff, so I could totally see that working out there as well. So the first thing that I'm doing is separating Harry Potter into just 2018. I'm going to take the amount of sets that came out with that wave, and that's what we'll be applying to Lord of the Rings. It says here on Brickset that there were 15, but I'm not going to be including things like these polybags and like store promos for buying a set. I can't imagine what they would possibly want to do for that. That just seems a little bit out of my wheelhouse, so we will ignore those for now, but we will come back to this. So we start out with a UCS castle. We'll get back to that one in a bit. We see we have one, oh yeah, oh man, I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, so first issue here, I forgot about the Fantastic Beasts line. Realistically, no, I don't think that LEGO would use these 2 slots as an excuse for some Hobbit sets, since the Fantastic Beasts sets were here just to tie into the movie as an excuse to explain why Harry Potter was back suddenly, even though I don't feel like Harry Potter needed that much of an explanation to return. Money is a fine enough answer. We all know that that's the truth anyway. I decided to compromise in that I would swap out Newt Scamander's set for a new Lord of the Rings set. This way there's just another extra one that's in the middle price range for consumers to buy. I think that would work overall. So we have 1 set here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then like misc stuff that I don't care about. So we had 5 sets total. I think the Hogwarts Express was like a weird store exclusive-y thing, so I'll probably have to keep that in mind. And then we had a giant UCS style set thing as well. Now as for Lord of the Rings, we separate that up to 2012. Oh my god, 23 sets! Jeez. We have 1 set, 2 set, 3, 4, 5, 6. With a 7th one being like a weird store exclusive thing, and then a bunch of polybags and stuff. So overall, our Harry Potter wave consisted of 4 retail sets, 1 store exclusive set, and 1 giant D2C set. Lord of the Rings originally released with 6 retail sets and 1 store exclusive set. Of that wave, only 3 of these sets were based on other movies, which gives us 3 brand new sets to look at for Fellowship of the Ring representation. Gandalf Arrives would open our new wave and would appear practically exactly as it is. This would be replacing the small Aragog set, which featured Harry and Ron, and a small build of Aragog and a tree. I think I'd keep the build close to how it already is. Maybe add some extra junk in the trunk, a nice scenery build, maybe the tree where Frodo was reading his book, something nice like that, but this would give us our Frodo and Gandalf pretty easy picks. The Quidditch set released at only $60 here, which is crazy, and with 500 pieces as well. I've taken a look at some of the DC Lex Luthor mechs and the other superhero mechs. The new Avatar sets have brick-built creatures in them as well. All of this to explain that I totally think 500 pieces is more than enough for a Balrog. Originally, yeah, I thought a bridge too as the little display thing for Balrog and Gandalf, but does a bridge really look like it would be that fun to build? I kinda think that just the Balrog on its own, maybe a small display of some sort of a rocky feature, but a whole bridge just seems really boring and overkill. The really cool Lex Luthor mech from 2018 was less than 400 pieces once you factor in the bill for Batman's wingsuit thing, so the remaining parts could go towards a cool display of sorts, just like the new Avatar sets with their underwater features. A whole bridge is just a little overkill, and I would rather see the Moria set return and take the bulk of those kind of pieces. Amazingly though, the Quidditch set released with 5 minifigures. Besides Gandalf, who would be needed, I really don't see LEGO adding another 4 minifigures to this kind of a set. And I already have the roster selected for all the others, so I would just simply leave this one up to them. If they want to add some extra orcs for some army building, that would be cool. Some extra fellowship members, maybe add some options so that those who don't want to get the expensive sets could get these cheaper ones. Hey, go for it, by all means. So like I said at the start, we'll be taking Newt's Magical Creatures set and replacing that with the new remake of Weathertop. The build for Weathertop is actually a lot less than what was in Newt's case, but granted we did have 3 brick-built creatures along with that, so perhaps they could use those parts on making a bit more of a bulkier build since it's quite crammed inside once you close it all up. Newt's case had 4 minifigures, we would have to use some of those on ring rates obviously, so they can take up 2 slots, because I don't really see a set releasing with just 4 ring rates selling. This is where we would get the Strider minifigure. He could come with a hood, his bow and arrow, he could come with his cape as well, and I guess you'd have to go with a Frodo here as well, but I would want to add something different to him. I would love for this Frodo figure to be invisible, as though he's wearing the One Ring. We've had translucent figures before with Ghosts and Spectres, and I think that would be an amazing variant for him. The Mines of Moria set actually matches the Whomping Willow as far as pieces go, so again, that's a pretty easy slot for us to fill. I honestly think that I would keep this to be close to the same, but with a few added touches here and there. The big wall would be needed, but I would probably try to have them connected onto each other like a giant L shape for display, rather than 2 separate pieces. The Cave Troll is a must as well, and the orcs that came with him. I think 2 of those orcs would be fine. Consider the Cave Troll to kind of take up the place of the car or the Whomping Willow itself, or something along those lines. That would give us 6 minifigures total, and 2 of those slots have been given away to the orcs. So this is where we would get Gimli and Legolas again, and they would remain exclusive to this set. As for our last 2 slots, that can be for Frodo and Sam. This would be how we would get our regular appearances of Frodo and Sam, and Sting would be blue this time round. I am going to have to split up that fellowship just like they did in the last set. The Hogwarts Express was the store exclusive, and that sat at 800 pieces, so our Amon Hen can get one hell of a debut with 800 pieces. This is where the fellowship breaks up, so I feel like it would be a necessary and worthy inclusion. I would imagine that we would get this really nice structure here, but we could also get a small little display forest area where Boromir meets his demise. The set would be nearly double the pieces of the last Lord of the Rings store exclusive, the Orc Forge, but we do get the store exclusive part out of the way. 6 figures were included in the Hogwarts Express, so 6 figures would go here. Boromir and Lurtz would be here for their showdown, and that scene also involves Pippin and Merry, who would be appearing in their regular Fellowship attire. With 2 remaining slots here, as I mentioned earlier, this is my favourite Aragorn outfit, so he would be here paired with an orc. Lastly, the final set that released was that year's Hogwarts expansion, The Great Hall, which was only 80 pieces more than the Hogwarts Express. Easy, we're remaking the Hobbit Unexpected Gathering set, which is the best Middle-earth set of all time. The set was slightly cheaper than the Hogwarts Great Hall at its release, but still it was within the pricey range of like the upper medium scale, and I think that bigger is better. It had 652 pieces, so bumping that piece count up to almost 880 would work wonders for the set, and the figure selection is very high as well. The set could be based from the beginning of the film during Bilbo's birthday, so give us some small displays to put out in front of the Hobbit hole. Harry Potter gave us some really cool solid tents. I could see room for tables and some food pieces as well, some extra farming carts as well if they wanted, maybe some chairs, some other decorations that could go on trees or such. If they wanted to just straight up remake the first Hobbit hole, which was already a pretty perfect set, then those extra 100 so pieces could go towards building the scenery. Figure selection time. We were so lucky to get 10 figures in the Great Hall, and one of those was a very special Hagrid mold. I'm removing the Hagrid mold just because I couldn't really think of a replacement for that type of a character, and I didn't want to add another Gandalf to this line. So right off the bat, we would get Bilbo, Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Sam, all appearing in their Shire-based clothing. The Harry Potter line was really cool for including some niche characters like special event teachers, so the next couple of slots are no different. I would include Rosie Cotton, who wouldn't play a major part in Sam's life just yet, but for when he returned home. We'd also get Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot, the grumpy hobbits who looked down upon Gandalf's arrival at the beginning, Farmer Maggot, whose crops were being raided by Pippin and Merry after the party, and as mentioned, I've removed the special Hagrid figure and swapped it for, let's say, a horse or some other farm-based animals. This leaves us with the final set, which is the really neat D2C set, the giant Hogwarts castle that was a microscale build. Well, if the rumors are correct, we're actually getting a Rivendell set in 2023 for $500 that's presumably going to be a microscale build. I would simply be piggybacking off of that. What did you think the inspiration was for this exact idea of copy-pasting the Harry Potter line? I really don't know what to expect from this, but we should expect a reveal soon. If it is to have minifigures, then I would imagine that Elrond would have to be included. I'm gonna say Frodo and maybe Gandalf too, since we don't yet have a word on whether or not we're getting a new theme. And could you imagine if the first Middle-earth set in years to come out just released with a bunch of elf minifigures? Galadriel, maybe? I don't really know. I'm trying to keep it to the theme of only 4 figures, just like the Hogwarts Castle did. But hell, who knows? If this is supposed to be the one and done Lord of the Rings set, maybe they'd do it like Diagon Alley and we'd get the entire Fellowship in this one. If it's a microscale set, then I'm excited to see it, but I'll happily skip out on it. I don't have the room for a $500 microscale set in my room. If this includes remakes of minifigures though, man, I better start saving. Alright, so that's roughly my idea for the perfect Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring wave of sets. What did I miss? This would be LEGO's chance to get it to 100% perfection, but maybe I overlooked an area or two. If so, you should let me know down below, and subscribing helps support the channel. I would love to come up with something for Two Towers and Return of the King, so let us know what your ideas are. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.